Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. Which one should I use? Are they safe? How do they work? Let's find out. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology. If you'd like to be notified when we have a new video out, you know the routine. Just go down below, click the subscribe, and then hit the notification bell, and we'll send you a notification when a new video comes out. Today we're going to talk about the pay services, Google, Apple, and Samsung. What's all this about, and which one should you use? I've got some interesting stuff to talk about, so let's get on with it. Let's look at these three services: Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay. Which one should you use? Well, the first thing you need to know is they're all free. They're not going to cost you any money. And they actually all work the same way. I'll explain that in a minute. So which one should you use? Well, if you have an iPhone, then my advice would be to use the Apple Pay. This pairs nicely with the watch, and we're going to have another video coming out, another reason to click that notification, about using these pay services through your watch, which is going to be really cool. But if you have an iPhone, then use Apple Pay. That leaves everybody else with an Android phone, right? And so you probably should use Google Pay. Now, right away, you're going to say, hey, what about Samsung Pay? Well, that's a consideration. Now, you can only use Samsung Pay on a Samsung phone. And in general, more services, countries, you have a bigger service with Google Pay. And I would generally go with Google Pay, except for one thing. Samsung has some cool phones, particularly foldable phones. Now, they have designed Samsung Pay to work with those phones. For example, if you have a foldable phone, you can take the phone out and you don't have to unlock it or even open it to use the Samsung Pay. It's all designed to be used around that. So if you are considering Samsung Pay, I would look at the type of phone you have and look at the pros and cons before choosing that. They all are free, and they certainly work the same way. So let's have a look at how these work. All right, let's look at how this works. Let's take our traditional credit card. What you do is you put this into the reader, and the transaction occurs. And as you put it into the reader, the credit card number and PIN number are recorded in the reader to make that transaction occur. The problem with this is if there's a skimmer, the bad guys have come and actually made a physical altercation to the reader, this can compromise your card and, of course, provide the bad guys with some very important information. Now, this doesn't occur often, but is a potential risk, particularly with readers in restaurants that are often left unattended. So there are some problems with this. So then we have a situation where it has tap and pay, where you can actually take your credit card if it has that little tap and pay signal on there, and you actually can tap the card. Well, how does that work? That uses an older technology called EMV. So your credit card number and your PIN number are not actually transferred. So it is a secure transaction that occurs between that. This is more secure than inserting it in a reader. But of course, in my case, it never works, or it only works some of the time, because I have my credit card in my back pocket. Sometimes the tap works, sometimes the tap doesn't work. I have to often request a new card from my credit card company because it always works better when I get a new card. So there are a lot of complications with this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So what we're going to talk about today is Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and Apple Pay. And that's where your phone now becomes your credit card. There's a link between your phone and your credit card company. This becomes your credit card. I'm going to show you how to set that up in a minute, but there are a lot of advantages because, of course, we use a different technology than the old EMV that didn't work that well. We use it's called NFC, or near field communication. In other words, there's a radio chip in this phone that actually sends a broadcast to the reader. Now, you probably understand Wi-Fi, you understand Bluetooth. Well, NFC is yet another form of broadcasting that is available on most cell phones. Now, the advantage of NFC is that it only broadcasts 1 or 2 centimeters. You have to be very close for it to the receiver to pick up the signal. The other thing that happens is when NFC broadcasts from your phone to the reader, it only sends a transaction number. There's no identifier or no information that is kept, or there's no information that's transmitted to the reader other than a very long, complicated number. So that makes this very secure, and also it works, at least I've been using mine for a week now. It works all the time. It's not like that stupid credit card where you tap and pay and it doesn't work. There are a lot more advantages that we're going to talk about, and particularly for seniors. So that is what I want to focus on. All right, let's set this up. It is so simple. Don't be afraid. The first thing you have to do is make sure you have the correct app on your phone. And you'll see on my phone, there are 2 versions of Google Pay. In Canada, we use the older Google Pay app, which is this one. And if you are in the United States, you use the current one, which is this one, and found in the Play Store. Now, I'm not sure how I got the older version of Google Pay on my phone. It was just there. I think in a lot of these cases, these apps are already installed on your Android phone. But if they're not, then you simply have to go to the Play Store and download and install them. Now, once you open the app, the setup of your credit cards is so easy to do. It took me about 10 minutes to do 5 cards. You simply enter the card number in, or in my case, they were already there because Google knew them. But once you do that, it wants to know what those 3-number security code is on the back of your card. You simply put that in, a link between your bank and your phone. You'll then get a text message coming in with a code. You enter that into the app, and bingo, you're hooked up. That's all it is, and it's that simple, and you can do all your cards probably within 5 minutes. Now, once you get the app ready and operational, then I would suggest you move it, as I have here, to the front screen of your phone. This is something you're going to use all the time, so you don't want it to be in the third screen. You don't want to be hunting for it. So I moved that to my primary screen right at the top right, as you can see here, so it's easy to see when I open my phone, and I can access it right away. So now I've got the app installed. I am super nervous. I haven't done this before, and I don't want to be in a big Costco lineup and be embarrassed about fumbling around. This isn't going to work. So I work at the airport on Wednesday morning as a greeter. Yes, I'm a greeter. I get to help people with their travel arrangements. So at the airport, a friend of mine has a bakery and a cafe. So I decided to go in a non-busy time and use my first tap and pay with my phone at her restaurant. And here's how it all went. Take 3. Okay, I'm here today and I'm going to be using my Google Pay on my phone. And I've got Andrea here with me because she is a wonderful person and a friend of mine for a long, long time. We used to be in Rotary together, and she's a kind-hearted soul that's going to help me if I have trouble with this. Oh my gosh. So now I'm here at On the Fly. If you stop by at Comox Airport, be sure and come on the fly and buy something, okay? All right, so here we go. And we are going to we're going to charge this. We're going to confirm pay. And I'm not going to leave her a tip, darn it anyway. And I'm going to take my phone now, as you can see my phone here, and I'm going to put it over top. And you'll hear it click, and it is now approved, and we're now going to print. And here comes my receipt, and that is how you use Google Pay on your phone. It's so easy. You've got to try it, all right? Thanks a lot. Bye now. Since this is easy and secure, let's look at the advantages for seniors. Imagine it is the end of the evening, you've been out for dinner. It is now time to pay. You've had a glass of wine, the room is dark, and of course we all have glasses and many of us have vision problems. It always seems to be busy when you want to pay, and of course they bring around that little box for you to put your credit card in. Of course, this is in great demand, so it is just being used by another table. You then put your credit card in, but of course there are a whole bunch of menus that you have to go through. These are very confusing menus, and they're different with each machine. So you have the issue of confusion, you have the issue of you probably can't see very well, and you have the issue of very different menus. Usually what happens is after 2 tries, the waitress says, "I'll do it for you." So wouldn't it be better if you just said to the waitress, "Put the tip in and I'll tap and pay." You take your phone and simply tap it and away you go. No problems. There also may be mobility issues. Maybe you have Parkinson's disease. Maybe it's not easy for you to push those little buttons, even if you could figure out what those buttons were for on that machine that you've just put your card into. And again, the phone can recognize you for facial recognition, and all that you have to bring up is the credit card app, and you just tap and pay. So much easier. We've all experienced this horrible pandemic where a lot of people have died of COVID, particularly seniors. Now, fortunately, we're vaccinated now, but it's still a disease that kills seniors. In the days of the pandemic, when they brought this little machine around to pay, they always wiped it off and sterilized it before giving this to you. But now I see at restaurants that doesn't happen. In fact, these machines are usually in short supply, so they're handed around quite quickly, and the last person who touched it may, of course, be infected. So again, you don't want to touch those machines. A tap and pay with your cell phone certainly would help you with this. You know, these devices are so incredible. Whether you use facial recognition, fingerprint scanning, or gesture control, there are many ways that these phones allow secure access to them without, remember, complicating PIN numbers. You know, I was at Costco a couple of weeks ago, and I felt so bad for a senior. It was a busy Costco day, and of course he was in line, and when he got to the checkout, he couldn't remember his PIN code. Well, it's a senior's moment. We get to do that. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that, but he felt so bad and embarrassed because he wasn't able to complete his transaction. Had he been doing this, the facial recognition would have accessed his phone, and he would have easily just done a tap and pay and been out of there. Again, another reason to use this product. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you want to be notified of future videos that we make, you know, the subscribe and hit the notification bell, and we'll send you a notification for future videos we make. I'm going to be having 2 more videos coming up. One will, of course, be on using your watch for payment, and the other, of course, will be discussing the Google Wallet. A little different product, and we'll talk about that. So, till we see you again, have a great day.